Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my tight end start or sit decisions for week number 1 of the 2021 fantasy football season. Inside today's video, I'm going to be going over every single matchup from Thursday Night Football all the way until Monday Night Football, and I'm going to be telling you guys whether I believe you should start or sit each tight end in these matchups. But before we get on into the video, I would like to ask if you are new to my YouTube channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure you hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. And I would also like to give you guys a quick word from my friends and my sponsor over at Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy is a daily fantasy sports and esports app for player props. With Thrive, you can eliminate the countless hours of research and focus only on the top tier athletes that have the biggest impacts on the game. Choose 10 out of the 20 available player props to build your lineup. Each prop is assigned a fantasy value for both the over and the under based upon how likely it is to hit. Hit the most props and rack up the most amount of points to win your share of the prize pool. Thrive's $100,000 guaranteed contest is just $20 to enter, and first place takes home $20,000. Make sure that you guys sign up and use promo code Notorious when you sign up today, and you will receive a 100% instant first deposit match up to $100. Download the Thrive Fantasy app on the App Store or the Play Store, or by visiting their website www.thrivefantasy.com. Sign up and prop up today. And we are back, so without further ado, let's get into the video. We begin with the Thursday Night Football matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the reigning Super Bowl champs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in Tampa Bay. In this matchup, I'm going to be starting Rob Gronkowski. Now, we saw last season that Rob Gronkowski isn't the same Gronk that he was in New England. He's not going to be a top 5 tight end week in and week out. He's probably not even going to be a top 10 tight end week in and week out. But what I know about Rob Gronkowski is that this is a matchup that is perfect for him. He's going up against the Dallas Cowboys defense, which I feel like is not going to be very good at all. Vegas has this game projected to have a very, very high point total, so I believe that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here are going to stomp all over the Dallas Cowboys by throwing the football, and I think Rob Gronkowski has the opportunity to score a touchdown in this game, which will make him a start for me. For the Dallas Cowboys, I'm going to be sitting down Blake Jarwin. Now, on a season-long standpoint, I'm not ultra high on Blake Jarwin, but I do believe there will be multiple spots throughout the season where Blake Jarwin is an excellent tight end streaming option. But here, up against the Buccaneers, one of the best defenses in the NFL, when you do not have Zach Martin, one of the key pieces, one of the focal points of your offensive line, they may end up struggling in this game, so Blake Jarwin is definitely a sit for me. Now on to the Sunday slate. We begin with the Seattle Seahawks at the Indianapolis Colts. Now, Gerald Everett leaving the LA Rams was the perfect parting for both teams, because now the LA Rams can utilize Tyler Higbee correctly. Now Tyler Higbee is the clear tight end number 1 there, and now Gerald Everett doesn't get to screw over Tyler Higbee, but he also gets to become the true number 1 tight end in Seattle. I'm going to be firing him up in this matchup up against the Indianapolis Colts. I personally believe this is going to be a relatively high-scoring game that is obviously going to take Carson Wentz to play relatively good in this game, which he may struggle with because he's coming off that injury. I doubt he's going to be fully 100%, but I still think Gerald Everett will be pretty involved in the Seattle Seahawks passing attack, and I think they're going to be able to score a decent amount in this game, and Gerald Everett should be a very big piece of this red zone offense. I'm going to be sitting down Mo Alley Cox for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, when it comes to the tight end group there in Indianapolis, they have a myriad at the tight end position. They have Jack Doyle, they have Mo Alley Cox, they have a bunch of other tight ends as well. Now, throughout the offseason, basically everyone and their mother believed that the Indianapolis Colts were going to bring in Zach Ertz so they could have that Carson Wentz, Zach Ertz combo there. That obviously didn't end up happening. There's a lot of tight ends there. Will Mo Alley Cox be the guy for Carson Wentz like he was last year with Phillip Rivers? I'm not too sure. So with that said, I'm going to be sitting down Mo Alley Cox in this matchup up against the Seattle Seahawks. Next up, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Houston Texans. Now, sadly, Tim Tebow ended up getting cut, so he's not going to be able to be a start in this video, because this would have been a smash matchup for Tim Tebow. I'm only fucking with you, obviously. Tim Tebow would have been a sit in this matchup as well. This is going to be one of the lower scoring games on the week. But if either of these teams had a solid tight end, despite the low point total, I think either team could have had a tight end play very good in this game, because the Jaguars as well as the Houston Texans don't have very good defensive play. But here we have two average, maybe even below average tight ends like James O'Shaughnessy. I doubt he does anything in this game for the Jaguars. Jordan Akins is actually pretty solid, but I'm not going to go ahead and declare him to be a start with Tyrod Taylor under center. So both James O'Shaughnessy as well as Jordan Akins are going to be sits in this matchup. Next up, we got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Atlanta Falcons. This is a classic case of start your studs. You drafted Kyle Pitts inside of the 5th round, the 4th round. Guess what? You're going to fucking play him up against the Philadelphia Eagles. This is the perfect matchup for Kyle Pitts in his first week in the NFL because the Eagles defense isn't very good. The Falcons don't have a very good defense. Both of these teams have relatively solid offenses. So I believe this is going to be a very high scoring back and forth affair in which Kyle Pitts can completely destroy the Philadelphia Eagles defense. I also like Dallas Goedert in this matchup. Again, like I said, I believe this is going to be a relatively high scoring matchup. It does suck that Zach Ertz is still there and didn't end up getting traded to the Indianapolis Colts because had Zach Ertz have gotten traded, I would have probably told you guys all offseason that I believe that Dallas Goedert could crack the top 5 at the tight end position. His chances are much lower now with Zach Ertz being there. Last year, you could clearly see that Dallas Goedert was dominant when Zach Ertz was hurt. But when Ertz was in the lineup, he wasn't able to do as much. Now, this season, compared to last season, I think the team plans to use Zach Ertz less, and I believe Jalen Hurts really likes to throw the ball to Dallas Goedert, so I think Dallas Goedert will be relatively involved in this offense, and up against the Falcons in what I believe to be a very high-scoring game, maybe the highest point total on the week when all things are said and done, so I like Dallas Goedert as well as Kyle Pitts in this matchup, and I will be sitting down Zach Ertz. Now, if you're in a super deep league, if I'm being honest, I think Zach Ertz is actually a perfectly fine play in this matchup because there is a good chance that he ends up finding his way into the end zone in this matchup. Next up, we got the LA Chargers at the Washington Football Team. I'm going to be starting Logan Thomas in this matchup, but I'm going to be doing it reluctantly because I believe this is going to be a relatively low-scoring game. You drafted Justin Herbert early in your fantasy drafts. I talked about him in the video from earlier today, how I'm very cautious about Justin Herbert, the pervert, in this matchup because I think it's going to be low scoring. Same thing goes here with Washington Football Team tight end Logan Thomas. The Chargers defense, when healthy, is one of the best defensive units in the NFL, so I think there is a chance that Logan Thomas could struggle, but he is such a big point in this offense with Curtis Samuel not being 100% healthy. Sure, they have Terry McLaurin. I think he's going to be perfectly fine in this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Logan Thomas got a bunch of targets in this matchup up against the LA Chargers, so he's going to be a start for me. I'm going to be sitting down Jared Cook. Now, I do like Jared Cook on a season-long standpoint because I believe that he is going to be not necessarily a huge focal point of this offense, right? The Chargers have Keenan Allen. They have Austin Eckler. They have Mike Williams, so they don't need Jared Cook to play this huge role in the offense. But Jared Cook has been a relatively safe tight end his whole career, whether that was in Oakland, whether that was in New Orleans for the last couple of years. I think in LA, he does have a nice enough role there to be solid for fantasy on a season-long standpoint, but up against the Washington Football Team defense, I'm definitely straying away this week. Next up, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Buffalo Bills. Eric Ebron is going to be a sit for me in this matchup. I'm very interested to see what the split looks like between Eric Ebron and Pat Firemouth. Because if the split is very heavily in Eric Ebron's favor, I actually think he might be a very sneaky tight end to play week in and week out. But here up against the Buffalo Bills defense, here with the unknowingness, or not unknowingness, I don't even think that's a fucking real word, but with me not really knowing how much work he's going to be seeing, I'm definitely not going to start him in this matchup, and Dawson Knox one time, if you're with me, is going to be a sit for me. He is not used really at all in this Buffalo Bills offense. Next up, we got the San Francisco 49ers at the Detroit Lions. Another case of start your studs. You draft these guys early, you're playing them. George Kittle here up against the Detroit Lions may genuinely drop a 30 fucking piece on the Detroit Lions defense. The Lions defense is terrible. Now, if Brandon Ayuk plays, obviously the chances of that happening are significantly lower, but there's still chances that if I'm the 49ers, if I'm being real with you guys, why the fuck is Brandon Ayuk going to play in this game? You're going to win whether Brandon Ayuk is out there or not. You're playing up against the Detroit Lions. You have one of the best defenses in the NFL. You have all these weapons on offense. You have Jimmy Garoppolo, who sure isn't amazing, but this is an easy smash matchup for the 49ers offense. Why would you risk getting Brandon Ayuk to potentially re-injure himself? I don't know, but it appears that he's probably going to play, which does suck slightly for George Kittle, but don't be surprised if he finds the end zone in this game. I would probably bet that he does, and there's a potential that he ends up scoring twice in this matchup up against the Detroit Lions. So obviously, George Kittle is a must-start tight end. Same thing goes with TJ Hawkinson. While I believe the Lions are going to be down tremendous in this game, I think the 49ers are going to take the Lions, put them on a boat, shoot them in the back of the head, tie a bunch of rocks to them, and throw them into the ocean. And I think the Lions are going to get absolutely skull-fucked in this game. But TJ Hawkinson is the best wide receiver on this team, and he plays tight end. He's going to be very involved in this game, especially later on when they have to just throw the ball 7 million times because they're down tremendous to the 49ers. So TJ Hawkinson is also a start in this matchup. Next up, we got the Minnesota Vikings at the Cincinnati Bengals. I like basically every single player on offense for both the Minnesota Vikings and the Cincinnati Bengals besides the tight ends. Tyler Conklin for the Minnesota Vikings, they lose Irv Smith. Then they bring in Chris Herndon. How involved will Chris Herndon be in his first week? I'm not too sure he'll be that involved, but Tyler Conklin, to me, isn't a good tight end, so why would I want to start him here? Even in the plus matchup, I would be very nervous to start either Tyler Conklin or CJ Uzomah in this game for the Cincinnati Bengals. They still have Drew Sample, who may be involved in this game. I just don't like the tight ends on either side of the ball here, even if I believe this may be one of the highest scoring matchups of the week. These are just not tight ends that you want to be kind of anchoring your roster with here and hoping that they end up doing anything. Unless you're in like a 24-team league, then go ahead and throw CJ Uzomah or Tyler Conklin out there. But before we get on into the next matchup, I'd like to ask if you have ended up enjoying this video thus far and you are new to the channel, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Again, not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. And it's not just one video every single day. Most days, you're getting 2 or 3 videos. Tomorrow, we will be live right before Thursday Night Football. So please make sure you guys have the notification bell so you guys can go ahead and hop in the live stream. We're going to have a great time. Make sure you hit that like button down below as well. I would really appreciate that. So back into it, we got the New York Football Jets at the Carolina Panthers. Now, I have really talked up the narrative of a revenge game for mono man Sam Darnold here up against the New York Jets. It's cool because it's the Sam Darnold to Dan Arnold connection. Their names sound very similar. But in reality, how involved will Dan Arnold be up against the Jets? Probably not very much. The Jets, they lose Chris Herndon. Now they got Tyler Kroft, the fucking Tomb Raider here for the New York Football Jets. I like this game for the Panthers. I think the Panthers will score a bunch of points, but I don't like Tyler Kroft or Dan Arnold in this game. Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals going up against the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee. In this matchup, I do like Anthony Firkser a decent amount. Now, a lot of people in the offseason started running away from Anthony Firkser because Julio Jones is there now, and he's not going to have the same touchdown upside, this, that, and the other thing. Julio Jones does not score touchdowns. This motherfucker is legitimately allergic to scoring touchdowns. If he scores more than 6 or 7 touchdowns on the season, I would be shocked. Maybe it's just the change of scenery from Atlanta to Tennessee, but on a career-long standpoint, Julio Jones just doesn't score touchdowns. So Anthony Firkser does have a very solid chance to score touchdowns on this team. You are obviously looking for the touchdown. If he doesn't end up scoring a touchdown, there'll probably be a huge swing and a miss in this matchup. But up against the Arizona Cardinals in what should be a relatively high-scoring game, I like Firkser. For the Arizona Cardinals, Max Williams to me just brings no confidence with starting this guy. I don't know how involved he's going to be in this offense. He'll probably not be very involved at all, so he's definitely a sit in this matchup. It's crazy that some teams in the NFL just heavily utilize the tight end. They are a key point on the team, and then there's so many teams, like 99% of the teams, obviously not 99, but a majority of the teams, they have tight ends, but they're just not very heavily utilized. Max Williams is the case of a tight end that is going to see very limited work in any matchup. Next up, we got the Cleveland Browns at the Kansas City Chiefs. In this game, Austin Hooper is going to be a start now. from a year-long standpoint, the whole season, I'll probably tell you to start Austin Hooper like 3 or 4 times, and this is one of those matchups. The MO for the Cleveland Browns is to run the ball down the throat of the defense, to just keep handing the ball off to Nick Chubb, hand the ball off to Kareem Hunt, and just basically a death by 1,000 paper cuts by running the ball so many times that your defense gets tired, and then Nick Chubb just runs over motherfuckers and scores a touchdown, or he runs for 50 yards, all types of crazy shit that Nick Chubb can do. But in this matchup, the Chiefs are too good. The Chiefs being too good means they're going to have to throw in this game. And when you have to throw, then Austin Hooper will be much more useful for fantasy football. So here, up against the Kansas City Chiefs, I will be telling you guys to start Austin Hooper. I'm also going to be telling you guys to who knew, you got to start Travis Kelce in this matchup. You drafted him in the first or the second round of your draft. You're starting him every single week, even up against a tough matchup. Next up, we got my Miami Dolphins going up against the New England Patriots in New England. Now, I believe this stat is correct. If it's slightly off, then I apologize. The Dolphins are 1-7 since 2013 in New England. But throw that stat out the window because none of those games were with Tua. So now we got Tua here. He's going to beat the Patriots, obviously, as a Dolphins fan. That's what I believe. So I like Mike Gesicki in this matchup. It's going to be interesting to see what the wide receiver usage looks like. Now, Will Fuller is not in this game because he is suspended, which gives me a little bit more confidence in Mike Gesicki, but I'm very interested to see what happens with Jalen Waddle. What happens with Devontae Parker? How involved are they in this offense? I'm not a huge fan of starting Tua Tagovailoa this week. I'm not starting any of the wide receivers this week for the Dolphins, but I do think Mike Gesicki will play relatively well, even if this game is low scoring. Now, a lot of people will tell you to start both Jonnu Smith as well as Hunter Henry in this matchup for the New England Patriots, but I'm being very cautious here. Obviously, if you have one of these guys and your other tight end is someone who is listed, but at the end of the day, this kind of seems like you gotta see it before you can really say anything about it, because I don't think this is gonna be Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez tight end duo there in New England. I just don't think that's how it's going to work because Tom Brady isn't there. It's Mac Jones. Maybe that's how it is, and every single week after this, I'm going to see Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry just butt-fuck the Dolphins defense, and then I'm going to come back on here next week and be like, hey, guess what? You need to start Jonnu Smith, and you need to start Hunter Henry, but this Dolphins defense is strong against the pass. Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, either of them could be good in this matchup. I'm definitely worried because of the matchup, and I'm also worried because I have no idea who the real number one target is here at the tight end position. Next game here, we got the Broncos at the New York Football Giants. Here, you're going to be firing up Noah Fant of the Denver Broncos. I expect this game to be a snooze fest. I've talked about this ad nauseum in the running back video, the wide receiver video, and the quarterback video for this week, week number 1, start or sits. I've just talked about how I think this game sucks. I have zero interest in watching this. The Broncos, their defense is good. I like the defense for the week. The Giants defense I like for the week as well, because I don't expect this game to be very high scoring. Noah Fant will be fine, though. He is a focal point of this offense, so you're going to start him. Evan Ingram, he's banged up. I do not believe, as we are recording this on Wednesday, he ended up practicing today. So not the best. Will he play in the game? Maybe. I mean, the game is not until Sunday, so there is a chance that he ends up playing. But even if he does, he's Evan Ingram. He's a guy that cannot catch a football. Next up, we got the Packers at the New Orleans Saints in Jacksonville. In this one, I'm firing up Robert Tonyan of the Green Bay Packers. Now, last year, Robert Tonyan was basically only good because he scored so many touchdowns. So the argument this year that a lot of people are jousting the way of Robert Tonyan is that, hey, the only reason why he was any good was because of the touchdowns. And I agree, right? That is why he was good. But how can you discredit Robert Tonyan from potentially scoring 10 plus touchdowns again? It is very plausible if this Packers offense is just eviscerating teams. And I believe they could. So Tonyan was a guy that makes all the complete sense to fade in fantasy drafts. But now that we're here in week number 1 against the Saints, you got to start him. This is going to be a high-scoring game between Rodgers and famous Jameis Winston, so I'm starting Tonyan. I'm going to be sitting down Adam Troutman of the New Orleans Saints. Now, I tried to look up, I was scavenging for some injury news on Troutman. He got knocked out of the game a couple of weeks ago, and then they basically said he avoided everything, he's going to be fine, but nothing has told me that he's going to start this week. So I have no idea. So you're sitting Adam Troutman. He's got the nice little injury graphic there. I added that in for you guys at home. I hope you liked it. It took me a nice 4 seconds to add that into the video. So I hope you guys really do appreciate that. But Juwan Johnson would be the backup tight end in this case. Probably going to sit him. Maybe Taysom Hill's the tight end in this game. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Next game, here we got the Sunday night football matchup between the Chicago Bears and the LA Rams. I talked about this earlier with Gerald Everett. Now, I probably say his name wrong. I think it's Gerald Everett, but I've said that, and people have told me that was wrong, so I thought it was Gerald Everett. I don't even know how the fuck to say his name. I apologize, Gerald, if you're watching this video. So, Bears at Rams. He's gone now. Tyler Higbee season in LA. The reason why Tyler Higbee was so good 2 years ago in 2019 down the stretch of the season is because Mr. Gerald was hurt. And then when Gerald came back last year, they're kind of just butting heads over there at tight end. None of them really useful. But now, they're both been freedom, and we got Tyler Higbee here going up against the Chicago Bears in a tough matchup. For the sit, we're going to be sitting down Cole Kmet of the Chicago Bears, which sucks because Jimmy Graham is still there. Had Jimmy Graham left, then I'd be very excited for Cole Kmet. But with him still there, I'm definitely worried about Cole Kmet's upside on the season. Final game here, we got Monday night football between the Ravens at the Raiders. You probably didn't even watch this far if your tight end is Darren Waller or Mark Andrews, because you're starting those guys every single week. It's a case of the start the studs. That is one of the most important things to talk about in week number 1 of any season. It's important in 2021. It's going to be important in 2221 when people are still playing fantasy football. Maybe it's robots playing the game. Who fucking knows? I highly doubt that's how it's going to be. It's still going to be the humans probably, but I won't be alive to see it, so who knows? But Mark Andrews, Darren Waller, these are must-start tight ends. Darren Waller could be the best tight end on the week up against the Ravens because they're going to have to throw the ball a lot late in this game. Mark Andrews going up against the Raiders defense, solid matchup for him as well. I honestly think both of these guys are probably the #1 targets on their respective teams. So thank you guys all for watching this video. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out this content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. Now, this video went a lot faster than the quarterback video, then the receiver video, then the running back video, because every week the tight ends are probably the simplest position to talk about. So hopefully you guys did enjoy the shorter video. Please make sure you guys check out Thrive Fantasy, link down below in the description. You are not going to want to miss out on that. I love you guys all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. As always, goodbye.